Hello, everyone, and happy Valentine's Day. It's around 2 o'clock, and we're going to get started. My name is Brian Wertman, and I will be your moderator today for our Sage 300 user group. To start off with some brief housekeeping, this user group is being recorded and will be sent out with the slides to everyone here. And also, if you would like to earn CPE for this online event, please sure to participate in all the polling questions and then reach out to us afterwards, and we'll send over the certificates. If you have a question during the user group, you can type into the chat area on your GoToWebinar panel, and we will take a moment to address it. If you also use chat if you are having any technical issues, and someone from Gross Mendelsohn will try to help you resolve the problem. To get things rolling, as the moderator of today's user group, I'd like to introduce myself again. My name is Brian Wertman. I'm the account executive at Gross Mendelsohn's Technology Solutions Group. And we have a ton of presenters here from Gross Mendelsohn and also from Alltech. I'll go ahead and let everyone on the panel introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Beth McNally. I've been with Gross Mendelsohn since 2004, and I was actually a Sage end user back in the DOS days in the 90s and became a consultant in 2001.
Hi, my name is Anuslan Santimachek. I've been with Gross Mendelsohn for about 4 years now. I've mainly been focusing on Dynamics GP side, but recently been transitioning over to the Sage reporting and BI solution.
And my name is Laura Lashin. I'm the sales director here at Alltech for the Mid-Atlantic region, and Himanshu and I will be presenting DocLink, the document management solution today.
Okay, yeah, here's what we're going to cover today. How to automate a document-intensive process with DocLink, the difference between Sage 300 and Sage 300 Cloud, what to expect from Sage 300 in the future, and 20 essential Sage tips and tricks in 20 minutes. Also using Sage Enterprise Intelligence for robust financial reporting. All right, we're going to start off today by talking about document management. Tons of organizations I work with ask me about how they can go paperless. Our friends at Alltech have figured out a way to streamline those business processes and increase ROI in their solution. DocLink, in their solution DocLink. I'll go ahead and pass it off to Laura and Himanshu and to show you how.
Thank you. I'm going to now share my screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with just a quick presentation to give you a better understanding of our solution offering. Then we'll dive straight into a quick demonstration for you. So again, my name is Laura Lashin. I've been doing document management now for over 18 years and have been a product expert when it comes to going paperless and automation. The idea is, most of us, we live in a world where we have instant access to information. So why is it so challenging for us to have access to the information within our organization? And this is where DocLink come in play. What is DocLink? Imagine it as your electronic file cabinet where you're going to be storing and managing all of your information. Now, some people might want to use the system just for plain storage and retrieval. In other words, you're running out of storage space and you want just a solution where you can store all your information and able to have it searchable. But then there are other clients who have these live working documents. Take an example, your AP invoices or your sales orders that are coming in. It needs to be routed around for action to take upon and for review and approval. So that's where the workflow components come in play as well. So DocLink can be used as just a pure standalone document management storage and retrieval system. It can also be used as a record management system where you can apply retention schedule and track when your document has to be purged from the system to meet compliancy. to able to track when, for example, a contract expires, so you could be proactive and get those renewed. But also Docklink can be used as a full enterprise content management system. That's where the technology is today. Because you have these live working documents that need to be routed around for review and approval and action to take upon. The system can store files in any format. Why? Because you have these Word file, you have Excel file, you have AutoCAD drawings, you have videos file, you have TIFF and PDF. Those are content, those are documents that you want to store and able to search for. And so our system allows you to store those files. Okay. We're going to also talk about electronic form as well. So in other words, we have all the tools to help you to go paperless as you want and to be as automated as you want. But before diving into some example how the system can be used in your organization, let's talk about Docklink with the integration with your Sage 300. The benefit with the integration with Sage 300 is now you will have two places where you're going to be able to access your information. You are going to be able to search and have access to the document in Sage. But you have a lot of staff that don't have access to Sage, so they will search the document through Docklink. Also, one of the biggest complaints I hear is we waste a lot of time doing duplicate data entry. So how can we help with that issue? A lot of your data, your vendors and customer information is already available in Sage or maybe in other software applications. Because of our deep integration with Sage, we're going to reuse that data. For example, when an invoice comes in, we're going to store it to Docklink. Then we're going to look into Sage based on the vendor name or the vendor number. And we're going to pull over all the information about that vendor and tie that into the document. So that way you can search based on those information. Along with the deep integration with Sage 300, there's a lot of accounting features that we're going to demonstrate for you today. But also as a benefit for you as a customer, we are Sage Alliance partner. So you can upgrade Sage at any time or Docklink at any time, and rest assured that the compatibility, the integrations are always intact. Why do you want to go paperless? Why do you want to use Docklink? Be proactive. Don't wait until some kind of disaster happens. Okay, fire, flood, hurricane. Because if that happens to, and your document destroyed, they're gone. But if you are proactive and start storing your documents and information into Docklink, backup's going to be done. So if something does happen, we can restore all that information from the backup. So zero data loss. Okay. Or what about your company, the growing, expanding, or you're moving to a different office? Why, if you go paperless and there's automation involved, so we can help your staff increase efficiency, be more productive. So that way, if you're growing, you don't have to add additional headcount to accommodate the growth, because your staff is now more productive, so they're able to take on more workload. Able to get rid of all your file cabinets, so when you move, you don't. Why are you paying for your square footage of the building when you can use that for office space instead of for file cabinets? So Docklink is an enterprise content management system. Many customers will start the system in the AP invoicing side of the house. That's the most trouble spot. Okay. I hear every day, we can't get the invoice approved on time because the CFO is always traveling on the road and he won't approve off on the invoice until he actually sees the invoice. Therefore, it causes delay and penalty fee, or not able to take advantage of early pay discount. Or we can't find, we don't know where the invoice is at in the approval process. Or we can't track who approved off on that $10,000 invoice 2 years ago. But so we're going to help you with all that. But once you start the system in your AP side of the house, I promise you that the other department are going to see how efficient you are, how easy you're able to access your information, that they are going to want to go paperless as well. So the return your investment is once you use Docklink, it is fully expandable, so you can expand it to all your other departments, taking your entire company paperless. So I'm sure you are aware of the challenges dealing with accounts payable. Okay, we're not going to spend too much time on that. But the idea is, if you can get your vendors to email the invoices to you, okay, or if they mail it to you, you can scan them in, or we can monitor your email server. So anytime anything comes into your email, we'll automatically grab it and store it to the DocLink system. And then workflow takes over. Workflow now is going to notify your AP staff or the approving manager there's an invoice in the house waiting for their approval or action. But your problem is they're on the road all the time. So how can we resolve this? Is that we can through their mobile app or through their email, through the web, they can access, they will be notified and they will have access to the invoice. They can review it. They can and able to approve off on it instantly from anywhere around the world. Okay. Take an example of the email approval. We could actually attach the actual document, the actual invoice with your email. Okay. We have information about that invoice. You open up the invoice, you take a look at it, and look directly from your email. You can click approve or reject directly from your email. Okay, so look at your invoice and click approve or reject. Once you click approve or reject, it's going to log in our audit log of who approved it and when, and then workflow will move it along to the next step. Okay. What about workflow delegation? If you're going on vacation for 2 weeks, you don't have to worry about the invoice sitting in your inbox, waiting for you to come back, and also causing delay. You can delegate your work to other staff. You're going to have typical process. Invoice comes in, AP staff will route it to the approving managers. In many cases, they will write down the account code or GL code on the invoice. Okay, and then it gets back to AP. AP try to read their handwriting and then input that same data into Sage. Well, that's double work right there. Okay, so in our demonstration, we're going to help show you how we can eliminate that double work effort. Okay, but if you have some people who are adamant and they like writing it on the invoice like they normally do, let them do that. But let's do it the paperless way. So we have annotation tools that they can use instead. So they can type a sticky note. We have note box area. You can highlight, draw a line, and so on. Okay. And then, of course, eventually it gets to AP, and then AP would then, easy for them to read and input that coding into Sage. Okay. At the end of the day, once your payment's been approved, your invoice been approved, and you process the payment in Sage, we have the ability to capture an image of your payment along with all the data about that payment. Because notice here, this payment here paid for multiple invoices. We're going to store this one payment into DocLink, and we're going to link this one payment to all those invoices. So that way you can search for it later on. So the general staff can just go into DocLink, search based on invoice number. If it's been paid, they will see the payment number, payment date, and if they have security permission, they can see a copy of the payment. And if they have further permission, they can print it out or email out to the vendor a copy of proof that a payment been processed. The idea is to have a complete history of your document from beginning to end. From if you create a purchase order, if you have packing slip, you have delivery ticket, you have the invoice and the payment. All of that is stored in DocLink and is fully accessible. So that's a little bit about the AP invoice side of the house. And again, we'll show you a quick demonstration of that. But what about other areas? Do you folks have corporate company credit card? Okay, are you spending hours or days trying to reconsolidate the corporate credit card statement? Well, we can help with that. We can create a template of your credit card statement. So AP, when you receive the bank statement in CSV format, you can just simply import it in. Okay, click on import, navigate and find that statement, the CSV file. It gets uploaded to DocLink. Notice here, we have charges for Robert, Diana, and Benjamin. With a simple create button right here, okay, the system will create a separate statement per each cardholder with their itemized charges. And now you use workflow to route it to the cardholder. The cardholder can verify, the cardholder can append their receipt per each transaction. You can do GL coding in our system, and then we're going to push all that data over to Sage to help minimize duplicate data entry. What about, do you folks do sales orders? Okay, do you need help with AR invoicing? So the idea is, how can we streamline this process and automate it for you? If you create a quote in Sage or in in Excel or in a piece of paper, is the quote gets stored to DocLink, okay, with all the data about that quote. So now when Mr. Customer sends you a purchase order or a contract, you store that into DocLink and get linked to the quote. So now when you go to Sage and you create the sales order, or you create the delivery ticket or pick ticket or packing slip, Sage can add a barcode to those documents. So now when you deliver the good, Mr. Customer signs it. What you can do is you batch scan those delivery ticket or the pick ticket into the system. We will read the barcode and know that, oh, that's the signed delivery ticket for sales order 123. Then we're going to look into Sage based on that sales order number. We're going to pull over all the sales order information and attach that to the delivery ticket or the pick ticket to help minimize data entry. And then workflow will notify AR to generate the invoice. Now, sometime when you send out the invoice, your customer wants to see a copy of the signed delivery ticket or a copy of the purchase order. Okay. Instead of getting off your chair and go and find that information, DocLink can help with all that. All you have to do is create your invoice in Sage, your AR invoice. Our system, 1, will store a copy of the invoice into DocLink. 2, it will go and look for the signed delivery ticket or the packing slip. It will then attach that to the invoice, and then 3, it will automatically email it out to your customer for you. We have numerous ways to automate the delivery of documents. Okay, so at the end of the day, we'll send it out by email, or we'll electronically fax it out, or we send it to a default printer. And in that, you will see the invoice along with the signed delivery ticket and maybe a copy of the purchase order. And all you have to do is just create the invoice, and that's it. And we do the rest. So moving along, some of the concern with, like I said, the ROI for if you folks are, paying for offsite storage, why? Why are you paying a company to store your files, to manage your file, to search for your file? That cost can be eliminated instantly. Do you folks get regular audits? We can help with that as well. So most of our customers, what they do is they will provide a login for the auditors. So the auditor will go into DocLink and do their own searching for documents. Save your staff time, okay? If the auditor is off-site, okay, let's say, Sharon, your company's been audited. I want you to find for me all the AP documents for all your companies, and it has to be within a certain year. Submit your search criteria in literally seconds. The system will bring up all the documents meeting that search criteria. In this case, we found 131 documents. So now you can just download it to a thumb drive or print it out or email it out. And when you download, we can actually include the DocLink search engine with that too. So the auditor can do the DocLink search instead of opening up every single file. And then finally is, we also can help with expense report. If you're still doing the good old Excel spreadsheet, we can help. This is actually my personal favorite because I use it all the time. So what we do is we create a template of your expense report. When you travel, or when I travel, for example, I lose my receipt all the time, but now I don't have that problem anymore. So what I do is I pull up my mobile app. Notice in my mobile app, I can search my client files. I have access to my workflow inbox, so anything waiting for my approval, I can do so. But I can also capture documents, okay? For me, you can capture any kind of document, but for me, I'm just going to capture a picture of my receipt, okay? So here's my receipt, okay? Automatically have the company that I belong to, my name, the date of receipt. I just need to type in the dollar amount and the purpose of the expense, and then it gets uploaded into DocLink. So now when I get to the hotel or at the end of the month, I'm ready to do create my expense report. I log in. The system will automatically have my transaction, my expenses, okay, my name, expense report number, and everything. All I have to do is just verify it. And now notice when I click create, the system will create my expense report with all my charges, with the receipt attached. And then now workflow will notify my manager who's always on the road. And so he will see my expense report. He can approve off on it. And now we notify my AP, and then AP does the coding and payment. I literally can get my expense report submitted, approved, and a check to be cut on the same day. Okay, because it's that quickly and that efficient. And then finally is contract management, another big buzzword where we can help as well. Okay, because with our system we include document collaboration, check-in, check-out capability. So imagine, let's say Brian, you draft up a contract, it's in Word format. You store that into DocLink. Workflow now will notify Sharon to take a look at that contract and make any necessary edits. Sharon will check that contract out. When she checks it out, the system's going to lock that contract so no one else can work on that same contract. They can look at it, they just can't work on it. When Sharon's done, Sharon will check it back in. Once she checks it back in, the system will create version number 2, the date and time and who worked on it, and so on and so on. Finally, when you have the final contract, you email it out to your customer. Our system will convert that contract into TIFF or PDF format. Your customer will sign it, send it back to you. You then store the executed contract into DocLink, apply the expiration date of that contract, the retention date of that contract, and now, like I said, you can manage the life cycle of that contract. Okay. So like I said, folks, this is just a few examples. There's a lot more, but we don't have enough time today. So like I said, just know that you can start DocLink in one area, and then you can expand it and use it enterprise-wide. Okay. So with that said, some of you have heard of, BeingWorks for AP automation. The difference between DocLink and BeingWorks is if you're looking to remove or eliminate the AP responsibility of processing and cutting the payments. In other words, if you're looking to outsource your AP staff, service, then that's where BeingWorks comes in play, because that's what they do. They process the invoice, they do the coding for you, they process the payment for you. Okay, but also that's one area. Another area is BeingWorks only deal with AP invoices. Okay. Where with DocLink, yes, we can help you with the processing and management of your AP invoices, but there's many other documents and area outside of AP that we can help as well. Those are the key differences, okay? So with that said, we're going to now transfer it over to Himanshu, who's just going to give you a quick demonstration. So we talk about AP when invoice comes in, and we talk about how, some of the approving manager write down the GL code. The reason why they need to do that is because they don't have access to Sage. So here, Himanshu is going to show you a demonstration of how you can do coding in DocLink without the need to have Sage installed on the PC. And what happened after you do the coding, we're going to push all that data from DocLink over to Sage. Okay, Himanshu, all yours.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. Once again, welcome, guys. Thanks for taking your time out to join us here on the webinar. So as Laura mentioned, I'm going to quickly go over how you can do the GL account coding within DocLink, and then how you can process a document swiftly with the integration that we offer from DocLink to Sage 300. So what you're currently looking at is the DocLink Smart Client workflow screen. So this is where we have all different kind of workflows configured for different part of the departments or organization that you're using your workflows with. Accounts payable being one of them. I'll go ahead and select that accounts payable workflow. And on the right hand side, we've got the workflow status, which is unprocessed invoices. So when I hit that search button, it'll show me all the documents currently sitting in the system which are not processed. So the one of the documents that I'm going to look at is the one that we have sitting right here. Now, when I open up this document, quick lay of the land, what we're looking at on the left-hand side is the information section. Now, this document information section is something that comes in really handy when you're going through the approval process. It comes in as a great communication tool at the same time. Also, in the middle of the screen, we are looking at the actual invoice. And on the right-hand side, we are looking at the distribution stamp. Now, what is this distribution stamp? The distribution stamp in DocLink is fairly similar to what you would do on invoice entry screen in Sage 300. So what we have on the top is the invoice entry header section. In the middle, what we have is the GL account detail section. And at the bottom, it shows us the difference and how much distribution has been done so far. So our total section. Okay. Now, the information that you're looking on the top is pre-populated. So this document actually went through the OCR process, and it has been populated with the basic information automatically by the virtue of having OCR in place. Now, if I were to, at this point, go ahead and do the GL account coding, all I have to do is click on this add button on in the bottom section here. And by adding that button, by clicking on that add button, you'll see that the line is added in the GL account section. Notice how that default GL account code appeared here. So basically, this vendor in Sage 300 is set up with that default GL account code, which we automatically carried over with our integration. If you were to change that GL account code for some reason, you can always do that. All you have to do is just click on this lookup button, and it will show you the list of all the GL account codes that you have in the system. Now, if I were to change it to something else, I can go ahead and switch it to a different GL account code, say OK. Put in my amount, so I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to allocate all of my amount here, $48.95, and then hit that stamp button on the top. By stamping it, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another page to this document. So if you'll notice at the moment, what we have is page number 1 that has the basic information of the invoice, the actual image of the invoice, and then we've got the page number 2. Now this page number 2 is essentially is more of like an audit trail, if you will. So what we have on the top is what date and time this distribution was applied by which user. And also, it shows you the header information, the line detail information, and the footer information. If anything changes down the road, if someone changes the GL account code, we will again record that information, and there will be another page added. So that way you'll have the complete audit history as to who applied that information, at what date and time it was applied. Okay. So with that, what we are going to do next is we are going to go ahead and talk about briefly how the approval will look like. So when the user is sent with this invoice and they're working and they're approving this document, they can click on these buttons on the notes section on the top here, and they can approve the document. So by the virtue of just clicking on that button, again, notice how it captures which user I'm logged in as, what date and time it was approved. So it could be something as simple as, from an approver standpoint, a quick 5-second job. They just look at the invoice, confirm everything looks good on the distribution stamp, and then hit that approve button. So that's how easy it can be. Now, let's talk about once it's finally approved and you want to actually, as an accounts payable person, want to import this invoice into Sage 300, into your ERP system, right? So we don't want you to be sitting there and actually, coding that same piece of information that you already have here and doing the double entry on Sage 300. So importing this information could be something as simple as clicking on that import button on the distribution stamp. So as soon as I do that, you'll notice that it'll ask me which batch number in Sage would you like to import this information into. So I'll go ahead and provide with the batch number that I already have set up in Sage and hit that OK button. As soon as I do that, it'll do its thing in the background, and it will confirm that, yes, the transaction has been successfully imported. Once you're done with that import of transaction, at this point, you can just go ahead and confirm, hit OK, and then move this document to the next workflow step, which is approved for, approved for payment or entered into Sage. So that way, you're not coming across this same document over and over again. Okay. So that's how simple the whole process of coding, getting documents approved, and importing into Sage can be. Now, let me close out of here, and let's look at this transaction from Sage standpoint and see how it actually looks, or how you can view this document while you are in Sage. So I'll go ahead and open up Sage 300 screen here. Now, what we have here are our own integrated screens. So I'll open up the DocLink invoice entry screen. Once I launch it, you'll notice that it'll ask me to log in and confirm. So we'll go ahead and do that. and it'll open up the workflow screen for me. Now, for now, I don't really need to have the workflow screen open, so I can go ahead and minimize that. Let's look at the transaction that we just imported. So what we can do is we can open up the batch. So here's my batch number 80, and then open up that transaction, which is going to be the very last one. So I'll go ahead and select the very last transaction. So notice how we have that invoice that we just imported, along with the header, line detail information, and all the taxes and totals information as well. Now, think of it like, a month down the road, or someone who is actually reviewing this document. There could be two ways they can be looking at this document. One, they can be in Sage and they want to actually view the copy of this invoice. So it could be something as simple as opening up that transaction within Sage and clicking on that View Documents button right there. So as soon as I click on that View Documents button, notice how it automatically opens up DocLink screen, and it also shows me all of that information that was applied to that document. I can look at the approval notes. I can look at the complete workflow history. I can look at the approval history. I can look at distribution stamp and whatnot. So gives you all of that information really handy on your fingertips while you are in Sage. So that's one way of looking at these documents. Now let's talk about another way how you can look at these documents. So thinking of the users that are not really Sage users, but you want those approvers, you want those users to be able to access those documents, right? The way they can access those documents is by just getting into DocLink. So they don't really have to go into Sage. They can come into DocLink here, and then they can go into either advanced inquiry or quick inquiry screen. Once they are on one of those two screens, they can go ahead and come here and select the document that they're looking for. For my instance, or for my search result, I'm looking for AP invoice. I can select that. And then once I select that document, on the right-hand side, what I have is where I can select what fields I would like to search for. So I can filter my search result based off of certain conditions. So in my case, I want to search for all the invoices for a vendor named Dell Form. So I do not know if Dell Forms are two separate words or if it's a single word. All I know, it starts with DEL. So I'll type in first few characters, hit that search button, and it will find me all the invoices starting with that specific vendor name. I actually searched off of vendor number, so excuse me there. There we go. So vendor name, hit that search button, and it will find me all the invoices for that specific vendor. So here, notice how it found me all the invoices for Dell Form. Now, while I'm looking at these invoices and I want to, actually find out if this invoice has been paid or not, it could be something as simple as just opening up that document, and I can go under general section and see if there is a check allocated to that document or not. So notice how we go back into Sage and bring back the payment information from Sage, be it a paper check or an EFT payment, a credit card payment. We can bring back that information and update the invoice, so that way when an approver is trying to figure out if these invoices have been paid or not, they don't really have to reach out to the accounts payable team. They can just go into DocLink and they can find out themselves. Okay, so here we have the check information that confirms that yes, it was paid. If I have permissions and if I want to actually look for the exact copy of the check, what I can do is I can do a drill down search. So notice how when I hover over that invoice number and I click on that blue hyperlink, it'll actually find me all the documents in the system that has that same invoice number associated to it. So at this time, it actually found me the copy of the invoice and also a copy of the check. So if I wanted to now look at the copy of the check, I can go ahead and double click, open it up, and notice how it shows me the actual copy of the check along with the complete history of the payment that that check has made. So if that check has paid multiple invoices, I'll be able to see all of those invoices. So that's pretty much what I would like to cover as part of this brief demonstration here. And I'll pass it on to the team.
Yes, thank you so much. So at this time, we want to open it up to any question you might have. I know we went through it really fast. We had limited time, but do we have any questions?
Hey, this is Brian. We actually have one that's in. It's so you have to manually import invoices to Sage at one time?
No, it could be done as a batch as well. So we can set up in batch mode or, doing one-offs. And setting up the batch could be on a routine. You can set up every hour or at the end of the day. It's up to you when you want the batch to be uploaded to Sage.
Thank you, Laura. We actually have another question. Is DocLink installed on its own server, or can be installed on a server that is running other applications as well?
It could be both. DocLink can coexist on the same server with other applications as long as you meet our minimum specs requirement. But over time, though, we strongly recommend to have it on a separate server eventually, just because imagine this as your file cabinet. So it's going to grow larger and larger and larger every day. So we don't want to cause bottlenecks or system performance to the other applications. And yes, we are compatible with virtual server as well.
Awesome. We have another one. What if I have workflow for documents outside of accounting?
You can use workflow for any types of documents. So remember, DocLink is your electronic file cabinet to store accounting documents, HR documents, any type of documents. Once you own workflow, you can use it for the routing and approval of those documents as well. Any other questions?
There is another one that came in. Can you this is on the first question about manually importing invoices to Sage. Can you set it up to pass the invoice to Sage after the invoice has been approved?
That is typically the process. Is you don't want it to pass to Sage until it's been approved. So you decide at what point in the process that you want it to batch import into Sage. But as best practice, have it approved first and then batch import into Sage. But once it's in Sage, you can still make any correction. So if we import into Sage and then maybe you have another eye looking at it, they realize it's the wrong GL code or the wrong dollar amount, you can still make the correction. Just do it before you post. And once you make the correction in the back end of the database, Sage will update DocLink with the updated information, so you don't have to correct in both places. All good questions, by the way. Any other questions?
We have one more. Can DocLink be fully accessed remotely over the web or on a mobile device?
Yes. So we have numerous options. And the idea is you may have multiple offices, you have people that telecommute or work off-site. So have all your data stored in one central place at the corporate office. And while you're out in the field or you're in Europe, for example, to able to access on the web or the mobile app, like I just showed you before, and able to search for documents, even do workflow approval. And on the web, you can also do GL coding as well. We even have some customer, to improve their service to their vendors and customers. On the web, they create a login for their customer and vendors so that those people can access their documents 24/7. Any other questions?
I think that's all the ones we have for right now. But thank you for spending your Valentine's Day with us. I appreciate your time, Laura and Himanshu. If anyone on this call has a pop-up question or a question pop up in their mind after you guys leave, I will make sure to forward it over to you and get it back to whoever's asking as soon as possible.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And folks, every organization have their own unique challenges and requirements. So please contact, reach out, and we would love to schedule a discovery call to understand more of what your requirements are and be able to put together a live demonstration specifically to meet your requirements. Thank you for the opportunity.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. We have Beth up next. Oh, we have a polling question, actually. Sorry about that. All right. Okay. Yeah. So if you want to do your CPE, you're going to have to go through with the polling question. It is true or false. Only managers and social supervisors would benefit from using a document sharing solution. All right, and you guys are perfect today. The answer is false. All right.
All right, let me share my screen here.
Awesome. Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome. Can you all see my screen okay? Brian, can you see it?
I can.
Okay. Let me get this out of the way here. Get out of the way. All right. So over the past 6 months or so, you have probably gotten a call from Sage about changing your annual support plan from Sage 300 to Sage 300 Cloud, or at the time it may have been Sage 300C. If you haven't gotten that call already, you will be getting it, so you do have that to look forward to. But I wanted to explain to you what the difference is between the two. Brian, are you getting an echo on my voice?
I am getting a slight echo. I say just keep on going. I think it's not too bad. So
I'll move the microphone away from my mouth a little. Hopefully that'll help. Okay, so over the years, Sage has tried they've released different web screen versions, and the first version was web deployment, and that was probably almost 15 years ago. And it really never caught on. The functionality just wasn't there, and it's still used today though for CRM integration. So if you're running web deployment for CRM integration, you're going to continue to do so. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Sage came out with a portal, had a little bit more functionality to it, had a dashboard and some shortcuts. But it was pretty much an in-house. It wasn't really a cloud-based. You were limited to Internet Explorer. So it was nice, but they had some work to do. Well, with Sage 300 Cloud, we have a new generation of web screens. And these web screens, as you'll see, you'll have a nice dashboard, and they've made them really functional. You can use them in any web browser on the market. So with the new web screens, you'll get a browser-based homepage, and you'll have customizable graphics and widgets that you can put on your web page. So you can show your current cash position, your current receivables, what your sales have been year to date, who your top customers are, whatever is the most important information for you can be set up on that homepage. While the name indicates Sage 300 Cloud, you think it's a cloud program, and in a way it is, but it can also be configured to be hosted on premise. So if you prefer to have your software installed locally and just hosted, all you need is IIS on your server, and it can be deployed as the other programs have been in the past. But then your users will be able to access it via web interface. And then also, if you want to open that up, you can have your users access it when they're off-site, so that they can access it on their phone or any kind of a mobile device. One of the things with Sage 300 Cloud is it splits your payment into a subscription-based model rather than one lump sum payment. So if you have spoken to Sage about that, they've probably told you, so rather than paying whatever your annual renewal fee is, that they break it out into a monthly fee. And for existing customers, Sage is offering savings for you to make that change. So if it's something that sounds good to you, I wouldn't wait until that offer goes away. You should probably think about doing it in the near future because you will save a lot of money if you do that. 300 Cloud is they're bundling the modules. So if you only need GL, AP, and AR, then you would go with the Essentials package. If you also use the operations modules, order entry, PO, and inventory, then you would go with Advanced. And then if you need those additional modules for consolidations and intercompany and job costs, if you're using job costs, or if you need multi-currency, then you would need to go with the complete package. So you only get what you need. You don't have to jump in and get everything all at once. You just get what you need. So, Brian, we have our first polling question. If you can publish that.
All right, I think it is coming in a second. All right, true or false? Sage 300 Cloud is the same is the same product as Sage 300C. I'll give you guys a moment here to answer that. All right, everyone, thanks for your answers. And the answer here is true. They just changed the name very recently, so it is now 300 Cloud.
Okay, so yes, 300 Cloud. Just that's to keep us confused. They change names on us every once in a while just to make us pay attention. But 300 Cloud makes it very clear as to what exactly the program is. And as you can see here, that the interface is pretty nice. You see a little bit in the background there of what your dashboard would look like. And we're showing a graphic of top salespeople. And down the bottom there, you can just see the title for cash position. So I think out of the box, there's 4 or 6 graphics on the dashboard. But again, you can customize that. And then we also have a little screen there on the right that's showing you the new notes feature. And I'm actually going to cover this a little bit more when we get into tips or tricks. But Sage 300 Cloud does allow you to enter notes for customers, vendors, and item numbers. So you used to have to buy a third-party product in order to do that. 300 Cloud, I mentioned this earlier, but for anybody who's a programmer, it's written in HTML5, and what that means, because it meant absolutely nothing to me the first time I heard it, but what that means is it works in all browsers. So you can use it, on your desktop if you're using Internet Explorer, but you can also use it on your phone with Safari or any of the other browser-based programs that we use on our smart devices. Additionally, with the web screens, there's a simple customization that's available. So it makes it very easy. You don't have to be a programmer to change up that your dashboard. You can make very simple customizations, and it's for an end user to do. You don't need a programmer to do that. There's also a nice little recently used window. And I like that because usually we tend to go back and forth between the same records during the day. So the this little recently used kind of makes it easier to do that. It speeds up the process. You don't have to go hunting around for your icon. It'll be right there for you. And the Finder displays are much faster in the web. I'm not really sure why that is. I guess it has to do with the programming, but Finder, so if you have a larger database and you know that your Finder is, it doesn't work quite as quickly as it used to in 300 Cloud, it really, the performance is much better. So some of the features that are available, we have, it is available in other languages, so it's available in English, French, Spanish, and Chinese. The help documentation is only available in English and French. 300 Cloud does have or does support optional fields, so if you use optional fields, you will not lose those. It does also support multi-currency. Payment processing is available. There's no intercompany at this time. I think they're working on it. I'm sure it'll be released in a future version, but not yet. And the same with job costs. So if you're using job costs, you're going to want to wait a little bit before moving to the cloud version. But the operations modules, the other ones, inventory control, order entry, purchase orders, are all available. And Brian, I think we have another polling question. We do.
All right, we are putting that up soon. True or false? Sage 300 Cloud web screens are available in Portuguese. All right, so the answer is false. Sage 300 Cloud is available, or web screens are available in English, Spanish, French, and Chinese right now, so not Portuguese. So, but yeah, moving on.
Moving on. Okay, so before I do move on, are there any questions about what's going to be available in 300 Cloud? Or how it might benefit you? Going once.
I don't see anything in yet, but we can
Okay.
wait another moment.
Okay.
See if anyone has a question.
I'd be interested to know if any of the attendees are thinking about moving to 300 Cloud, or if you want to see more, certainly you can let us know offline. Just shoot me an email. But if not, I can move right along here.
We just got in a question. Good thing we waited.
Okay.
All right. Do you have to have a license for each person that would use it?
Yes, 300 Cloud, it is based, the billing is based per person.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know the pricing off the top of my head, but we can certainly get that. But it is based on a per person usage. And that's concurrent. I believe it's concurrent, like the licensing for the on-premise.
Yeah, it should be similar.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and we can, if you have questions, you can still put them in because we'll stop again at the end of this next section. I don't mind going back and answering whatever I can. All right, so the future of Sage. So Sage version 2018 came out, I want to say it was back in August, something like that. And then November or so, they released product update 1. And product update 2 should be out in April of this year. These seem to be a little out of order, but Sage 300 e-commerce, which would be a web store if you're thinking about setting up a web store, that's due out in May of this year. And Sage budget and planning is due out in March. So what can you expect in those new releases? Here's the new desktop UI. It looks a little bit different, and even though you guys are all muted, I can hear you going, ooh, it looks so nice, because it does look a little bit cleaner. It looks a little bit more modern than what we're used to. And if you've been using Sage for a long time, you've seen it slowly change over the years, and I just think this is a big improvement. It just looks nicer. If we go to the next slide here, you can see what the data entry screen looks like. It's a little bit nicer. The grids might be a little bit hard to see here, but they're alternating colors in the grid, so it makes it a little bit easier to read, and gives you a little bit more information up there in the upper right corner than what we're used to having. So again, I think it looks a little nicer, a little cleaner. Sage Inventory Advisor, so if you're using inventory control, you might want to take a look at this. Sage is continuing to improve this. So it helps you to optimize and forecast your inventory. It gives you a clear view of what you need and when you need it. So you can take a real quick view of any of that, your current inventory valuation, what your demand is going to be based on history, and what your fill rates are. There's a little warehouse forecasting, so you can see, you know, what you have in your warehouse at any given time. And you can analyze your supplier performance. So if you can you'll see how long it takes your supplier to get that product to you, so you can work that into your ordering formula. You know, how far in advance do you need to order? And of course, then you can schedule and you can track your orders right there in Inventory Advisor. So it's a neat little program. If you haven't seen it and you use inventory control, you might want to take a look at it. All right, Sage AP Automation. Laura referenced this a little earlier today, and I think she gave us a pretty good comparison between DocLink and what Sage is going to be releasing, which comes from a company called Beanworks. That's due out, I'm not sure, sometime this year, I'm sorry. It's due out soon. But what it is basically is you have the invoices will be emailed into a box, into an inbox within your company, and you're outsourcing the data entry. So overnight, those invoices will be entered into your accounts payable system. And they're saying that they're estimating that the cost to process an invoice is going to go down from an average of about $15 per invoice to $2.94. So that's including labor and time, et cetera. And the days to process the invoice will go from 11 days down to about 3.5. And then you're going to increase your matching of invoices to purchase orders from 54% to 73%. So again, not nearly as robust as DocLink, but it will be an option if you're on Sage 300 Cloud. I also mentioned that e-commerce is coming out this year. So if you wanted to set up a web store, the Sage e-commerce is going to be the only e-commerce program that is fully integrated with Sage 300. And it's going to be fully integrated. So the data in the web store and Sage 300 are going to be synchronized every 60 seconds. So as soon as you add a new product or a new customer, it's going to be available in both places within 1 minute. You're also going to have real-time analytics, and you're going to be able to optimize your search positioning using Google Analytics. And you can also improve conversion rates using behavioral commerce. So those tools are kind of built into the system to help get your website out there. There's also a built-in CRM feature that's going to allow you to create your own web pages, again, without having a developer have to do that for you. You'll be able to create your own web pages, update your products, and keep your website up to date, or your web store, I should say. There's going to be built-in mobile commerce features, features that will include an iPhone and an Android app, as well as a mobile storefront. So again, your customers will be able to shop from anywhere, which is kind of nice. And they're also going to train you on how to manage your web store. So it's not like they're going to sell you the e-commerce web store and then you're on your own. There will be training and support included. Obviously, you'll be able to keep track of your orders, your quotes, your shipments, your invoices, all within the e-commerce site. So that might eliminate the need for having extra licensing in Sage 300. So you can have some users that only work within the site, which should free up some users for you in Sage. There's also going to be some marketing features included in e-commerce. So you'll be able to offer or set up real-time offers on your store. You can recommend related items. So if you've ever shopped on Amazon and bought anything, which I do all the time, you know that they're always recommending other items for you. So you'd be able to do that. You can allow your customers to set up a wish list, email a friend. So you can set up any kind of marketing ideas that you may have for your web store. And most importantly, you don't have to rekey your orders. So if a customer goes on that web store and they order a product, that order is going to automatically integrate into Sage 300 without anybody having to rekey it, which is pretty nice. And you'll be able to accept credit cards. So if I'm shopping on your web store, I can process my order, get my, to do the invoice, and pay for it all in one fell swoop, and all of that comes into Sage 300 without any manual intervention. And Brian, time for a poll question.
Yeah. Next polling question. All right. So true or false? Sage e-commerce is the only e-commerce solution fully integrated with Sage. Give you guys a moment on this one. All right. Yes, everyone's got this right. So it is true. So according to Sage, Sage e-commerce is the world's only e-commerce solution provider that is fully integrated with Sage. It enables you to seamlessly extend your Sage platform into your e-commerce channel with secure and real-time connectivity, delivering you to intelligent e-commerce. And back to you, Beth.
Okay. It still says it's sharing the poll results. No?
Might be lagging a little bit.
Okay, here we go. All right, so one of the modules coming out in, I think it might be in just a few months, is Sage Budgeting and Planning. This is a nice one. There's been a third-party tool out for a number of years, but this is the first budgeting and planning module built that's going to be built into Sage. And it's going to be a flexible planning and budgeting application that helps enable quicker and more informed business decisions. So it's going to automate and shorten that budget and planning cycle. And so the process is going to be, it's going to encourage collaboration across all lines of businesses, and it's going to tie in to your actual live data. So on this screen here, which looks very much like Excel, so people should be comfortable working in that, they'll be able to see, and you can pull in your previous year's budget data, your actual data, and then, or your actual financial data is what I meant to say, and then use that to create your budget for the previous year, and or modify your existing budget. So maybe something has changed during the year, you've acquired a new business line, so you're going to want to modify that budget during the year. Well, this makes it real easy to do that with, you have all of your information in one spreadsheet. So it's pretty nice. I'm looking forward to that, because that's been something, in my opinion, that's been missing from Sage from the beginning. All right, so how is Sage modernizing Sage 300? Well, I think the first thing is the cloud access, obviously. Web screens are a big thing now. People want to work from wherever they are, and this cloud is going to allow them to do that. They're also going to build in some more process flows, which really helps to speed up work and make everybody a little bit more efficient. They're going to be providing innovative Office 365 apps, advanced bots, and receipt capture. So it just makes everybody work more efficiently. And I think that's the end goal with any software, especially with an ERP system. The user interface, as you saw, is getting a little bit nicer. It's going to be easier to upgrade, and we've already actually seen that over the past few versions. Usability is getting a little bit better, and we're trying to decrease the actual data entry. Sage Intelligence, which you're going to see in a little bit. So they're going to offer Sage Intelligence in the cloud, which is really cool. You're going to love that when you see it. And of course, Sage Budgeting and Planning, which we've already talked about. So with that, before I move into tips and tricks, any questions?
I don't see any questions coming in.
Okay.
So go ahead. Yep.
And I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to apologize because it's still going to be my voice that you're going to be hearing. So no change here. So buckle up, because I'm going to do 20 tips in 20 minutes. I've gone through this a few times. I have to talk pretty quickly, but please don't worry about taking notes or anything, because you are going to get these slides, and then you can focus in on whichever tips interest you, and I'm always available to answer questions. All right. We're going to start with the account code change modules, and I'm going to start with the one with the GL codes, because a lot of times our customers find that they have to change a GL account code or combine two account codes. If you have telephone expense and maybe cell phone, and you just want to combine them into one GL account code, the account code change product will allow you to do that. When you change or you combine your GL accounts, all of the history, the current balances, and all the history, every single transaction goes along with that change, so you don't lose anything. It's like your new account had always been in place. You can also use the account code change to copy an existing account. And that kind of comes in handy if you have allocation instructions or any other instructions built into your account. So it saves you from having to recreate from scratch. Additionally, you can change the length of a GL segment. So let's say you have a segment code in your GL structure for department, and it's only one character, and you need to add your 10th department. Well, all of a sudden you need 2 characters. And if you've tried to change that without using the account code change tool, it's really quite the project, because I've done it. But this makes it really easy to do. You just change the length, and the Sage will do the rest for you. So that's really nice. If you have a lot of changes, individual changes, maybe you're just restructuring your entire chart of accounts, you can import those into the account code change product. And I'm showing here in the right graphic, you see what that format has to be. But you don't have to memorize it or save the slide, because all you have to do is click on the help button, and it'll tell you exactly what format you need. So we talked about changing your GL accounts, but it works the same for customers, vendors, and item numbers. There's an account code change or a number change tool for those records as well. Number 2, customer comments. This is one of the most underutilized features, I think, anyway, in accounts receivable. Comments are found right on the customer record. It even has its own tab. And so if you're not using a CRM system, this is a great place for you to keep track of all your communications with your customers. So if you have a dispute going on, or maybe you have a problem customer that you're always trying to collect from, any communication that's important to you, you can record here, so that before you call them again, you can come back and look and see what your last communication was, or what your colleague's recent communication was with this customer. And most importantly, you have a follow-up date. So you can schedule a follow-up for all of your communications. And that follow-up date can then be used to generate a customer list. So if I'm a customer service rep and I'm using these comments, every Monday morning, say, I can come in and generate a customer list that for every customer that has a follow-up date this week. And so that list will give me all of those customers with their contact information and the last information on the last communication, so that I can work off that list. So it can be weekly, daily, whatever. But this is a nice little handy report here for customer service reps. And if I'm going to generate that list on a periodic basis, I can use the scheduling feature in Common Services to remind me to do that. So here I've set up a schedule for the admin user that on every Monday to remind me to generate this list. So when I log into Sage 300 every Monday morning, I'm going to get that reminder list that you see there on the right, just telling me to run that report so that your users don't run the risk of forgetting certain things. Now I can create a schedule for a Sage task, and it doesn't or any Sage task or anything outside of Sage. It doesn't have to be just a Sage process that I schedule a reminder for. So scheduling is great, obviously, for reminding people, but you can also use it to do some processing for you and to get rid of some of the data entry that you have to do. So here what I've done is I've created a schedule to run my monthly recurring AR invoices. I've scheduled it for the first day of every month. And then once I had that schedule saved, I assigned it to my to each recurring invoice. So when I log on to Sage 300 on the first day of the month, I get my reminder to run the monthly AR. And in this situation, all I have to do is click on the process button, and Sage will actually create the recurring invoice batch for me. And then all I have to do, I can review it, print it, post it, etc. But the Sage takes care of creating the invoice batch. So this can come in really handy if you have processes that you run on a periodic basis. If you've used bank services in Sage 300, you know that it centralizes all of your cash transactions. So in bank services, we have a transaction inquiry window that allows us to search those transactions that are coming in from AR and AP. So here what I've done is I've created a search, and I'm looking for any check that's been generated in the year 2019 that was $500,000 or more. So I put in my criteria, I let the query run, and I only had one check. So now I can double click on that and drill down to the actual payment entry to see what exactly I was paying. That was $500,000. I can also use this on the AR side. Sorry, I got something in my way here on the screen. I can also use this on the AR side. So I have a customer, say, who maybe their ERP system is down. So they want to know what checks they've written to us maybe last month. What checks did we send you last month? What invoices did we pay? So I can come in here to this transaction screen, enter the criteria to look up for this from this particular customer for this time frame, what checks did we receive? And then I can drill down so that we've gotten one check. I can double click that. It'll take me down to the cash receipt window, and I can see when that check came in and what invoices were paid. So it makes it for a very quick way to analyze some data or look for data. Number 5, sub-module period locking. Most of our customers want to have the ability to lock their fiscal periods, either past periods, future periods, or both. I had a client just last week who had a check got posted to 2016. So it was a little bit of a headache to clean that up, not insurmountable, but it takes some time. Well, you can prevent these things from happening by simply locking those periods. And you can do that in the fiscal calendar, which is the common services area. So I can click on each individual cell and lock one module for one period at a time. I can lock one module for the entire year with a double click, or I can lock everything for a period with a double click at the head of that column. So it's real easy to do. But what happens if a user tries to post to a locked period? And that is determined by your setup in the company profile, which is also located in Common Services. So on the Options tab here, you can see you've got 3 options as to what's going to happen. You can select none, in which case absolutely nothing would happen, which defeats the purpose. You can select warning, which would alert your user that, hey, this period is locked, but it will still allow the user to post. or you can select error, which will generate an error and keep your user from posting to that locked period. And that's usually the preferred setting. AR write-offs. How many ways can you write off an AR document? There's actually a few. We hope that you don't have to do this very often, but it does happen, and there's a variety of reasons for it. So let's say that you have an invoice out for a customer that's $108 and some cents, and the customer sends you a check for $108. And it's just really not worth it to go after that 20 cents or 25 cents, whatever it is. So you're just going to deposit the $108. And as you process that AR receipt, you'll notice circled there that there's an adjust button at the bottom of the screen. So you can click on adjust, and it'll open up an adjustment window for you. You enter in your write-off account that you're going to use, and you can write off that, whatever it is, that odd number of cents. So you can process the receipt and the adjustment in the same transaction under that scenario. Another scenario might be that you're just never going to get paid. You have an invoice out there to a customer and they're just not going to pay it. Maybe the customer went out of business, whatever happened. In that case, you're going to go into the AR adjustment entry, which is found in the transaction area. Pull up the customer and the open document and write it off. And once you do that, the document will be gone from your aging, and whatever the amount of the document is would go into your write-off GL account. And the third scenario might be that on your aging, you can have a lot of really old documents that are really small amounts for whatever reason, that they just never got paid. Maybe people didn't pay the tax, whatever it was. You can have a lot of documents out there with it, just little tiny amounts. So what I did here is in periodic processing, in AR periodic processing, there's a feature called Create Write-Off Batch. So you're going to open that up, you select your criteria. So I'm saying that I want to write off anything that is 120 days or older and is less than $50. So I set my criteria, I click process, and then Sage 300 will create my adjustment batch for me. So I don't have to go through and do those documents one at a time. We talked earlier about using the GL account code number change feature to create or copy an existing account to create a new one. And that's fine if you're just creating one new account, but there are situations where you have to create a whole range of GL accounts. So the scenario here is I'm assuming that I'm using an account a segment in my GL account to define the division. And I'm adding a new division, division 400. So the first thing I have to do is to go into my segment codes and actually create that new division. And segment codes would be in the GL setup area. So the next thing I can do is in my GL accounts area, there's an icon for create accounts. And so I'm going to open that up and I can set my criteria. So I can define my structure code. And then I'm telling the system, okay, wherever you see a GL account code for division 300, I want to create a GL account code for division 400. So I'm telling Sage basically what to follow, what to use as an example. So I'll click on review, and Sage will list for me a list of all the accounts that could be created or that it would create. So I can review that list. If I want, I can change the descriptions. And the second column there where it says create, I could double click it and change it to no if for one reason or another I didn't need one of those accounts. And once that list is fine, I can go ahead and click on post or create, and Sage will create those 40-some accounts for me. Much, much quicker than going in and creating them all yourself. We do finders pretty much every user group because if you use Sage 300, you use the finder a lot. And if you're brand new to Sage 300, the first thing you want to do is open up a finder, go into global settings, and select go to filter first. And what that does is it starts off your cursor right there in the filter box, which is it makes sense to do that. I don't know why it's not by default, but that's the way it is. So that's the first thing you want to do, is set it to go to filter first. You'll notice in your finders, there's a find by box at the top, and there's a number of fields just kind of out of the box that you can use to search on. And Sage will remember how you like to search. So if I'm searching by customers and I prefer to use customer name, then every time I open a customer finder, sorry, it's going to remember that I like to find by customer name, and that's going to be the default. I can also change the key. So if you notice that your finder is slow, and we talked a little bit about this when we talked about the cloud, but if you notice that your finder is slow, you may need to change the key. So if I like to find by customer group code, I may want to come in here and change the key. The default's going to be customer number, so I would change it to group code, and that'll speed up the process for me. So you want to see if the field that you're searching by is available here, and if it is, you change the key accordingly. In settings, you can add columns to your find by field. So if you like to find by zip code and it's not there, you can come here to settings columns and add it, and it'll add it to your find by pick list as well as to the results. And you can also color code the results. If you wanted to say you want the group code to show up red, you can define that here. If you do any report writing or any SQL queries for Sage 300, you know that the field names that you see in the product are not the field names that you see in the database, or if you're trying to write a report, and sometimes they're not even close. But this gives you a real quick way to determine what those field names are. So if you open up a Finder and you go to settings and field name is column heading, rather than seeing the display name that you normally see, you'll see the actual field name, and that can come in real handy. Like I said, if you're doing report writing or SQL queries, it'll save you a lot of aggravation, trust me. You can also set some pretty complex, or run some pretty complex queries just using the Finder. So it's not that you don't always have to find based on one field. So I can say I want to find, like here, I want to find by a combination of the customer group and the state. And I can use as many criteria as it makes sense for my filter for what I'm trying to do. So I can set those criteria, click OK, and the Finder will basically run my query for me, and then I can export that or save it, whatever I need to do. So it's more, it can be used for more than just a Finder. All right, applying documents in AR and AP. There's a lot of reasons why you might have some open documents sitting there. And when I say applying documents or open documents, I'm referring to like credit notes and payments. Any credits that are sitting there on your system that should have been applied against something at some point, but just never were. And so to handle those, well, first off, you'll find them, you'll see them either on your agings or in your statements or on one of the inquiry screens in AR and AP. And so we're looking here, we've got a prepayment, but you can see those open documents in a number of places. And to apply those, in AR, you would use your AR receipts, and in AP, you would use your AP payments. The important thing here is the transaction type, and you see I've got that circled kind of at the top there. The transaction type has to be apply document. And once you change that to apply document, that document number field, the second one that's circled there, will open up to you, and you can go in and you'll select any payments that are sitting out there, any unapplied payments or any unapplied credit notes that are sitting there. So you'll be able to select that document number, and then down in the grid, excuse me, you can use that first column and just double click change in the no to a yes to select the open invoice that you want to apply your credit note or payment against. And once you click on post, then you get that credit note or payment off of your aging, and your invoice is reduced by whatever the amount is. Sometimes, however, you have an open credit note or an open payment or receipt that you don't have anything to apply it against, and you're going to have to issue the customer a refund. So here we have a situation in this customer, the only thing that we have open is a credit note for $108, and there's nothing to apply it against, so the customer has asked us for a refund. So to process that, we can go into the AR transactions area and open up the AR refund entry screen. and enter the information. So you pull up the customer and the date. And here you can select your payment type. So it can be either cash or check. We've selected check here, and then we've also selected to print the check. So we're going to have Sage do that. If we had issued a manual check, if the customer was on site and we just wrote them a check for the refund, we could just enter the check number instead. So once you process this, assuming we're printing the check, once I post it or add this record, I'll have a print check button. I can print the check and then complete the whole process for the refund. And you can see here where I'm applying it against a particular document, and there's your print check button, but it's grayed out because it's not accessible until you click add. All right, if you use inventory control, manufacturer item numbers can come in really handy. You can use the manufacturer numbers in your data entry when you're entering orders or purchase orders, and you can also use them for shortcuts, and that's the part that I find actually to be pretty cool. So and here's a situation where I've gone into the manufacturer item numbers, and for our item F1-265/B, the manufacturer's number is FC123. So once I have that set up, when I'm entering an order or a purchase order, I can actually enter that manufacturer's item number, FC-123, and as soon as I tab off of that field, the system will automatically pull our internal item number and description. So a lot of times you don't have your internal number handy, you have to look it up, but if you have the manufacturer's one, they're interchangeable. You can also use those though as a shortcut. So here I've got a halogen desk lamp, and the number is A1-310/0. Well, I don't know about you, I could never remember that number. I'd have to look it up every single time. So we can set up a manufacturer's item number that just says H lamp. And as we saw on the previous slide, if I'm entering an order, I can just type in H lamp, and then when I hit tab, the system will automatically pull the correct item number. So there's no need for me to look it up, and even I can remember H lamp. But you might also have a situation where you have three of basically the same item types. So here I've got 3 different halogen lamps. They're just different colors. And so in the manufacturer's item numbers, I put H lamp for each one of those 3 items. So now when I'm entering an order and I type in H lamp, as soon as I hit tab, I get this little pick list screen that pops up. So it includes our internal item number, but more importantly, it includes our description, so that it makes it very easy for the end user to pick the correct lamp. And I think that's kind of a neat little feature, and it's one that frankly I forget about when I'm training. I'll have to try to remember that. All right, number 12. We talked about budgets a little bit earlier, and there's that neat planning tool that's coming out, and but it's not out yet. And if you may have already done your budget for 2018, but you can hold on to this for next year. But the easiest way to import to get your budget in the system is to import it. And the easiest way to get a template to use is to export either an existing budget or your actual data. So here what I'm doing is in budget maintenance, which you find in the GL account area, I just go to File and Export. I select my fields. And for this, you always need the fields with the red asterisk, but you only need the net change amount. So you can ignore everything else. And then I'm going to set some criteria. So I said I want the data for 2019, and I want to look at the actuals. So once I have that in place, I can export it. I'm going to export it to Excel because I prefer to work in Excel. And I get a file that looks like this. So now I can use Excel formulas, or I can type in manually the numbers that I want in each individual field. That would be up to you. But once I have that, the only thing I have to do is make sure my year is correct in column B and my fiscal set is correct in column C. So A defines actuals, and then your budget sets would be 1 through 5. And then I go back to my budget maintenance screen, File, Import, and my budget is imported. We talked a little bit earlier about refunds and writing off documents, and obviously nobody wants to do that. So Sage has given us credit controls to reduce the risk of that happening. So in AR setup options, On the processing tab, down in the lower right, you see there's some credit check information, and you can select what unposted documents that you would like to include when checking the credit for a customer. If you're using order entry, there's a similar setup in order entry, so you want to make sure that you set that for your company. Once you have that, you can go into your AR customer records and set the credit limits and the check options in each customer record. If you have not done this, and obviously you already have your customers in Sage 300, you can export those customers and do all of the, set the credit limits and all in Excel, and then import that data. And if you need help doing that, obviously we're happy to help. So what happens is, I've got a customer who's over their credit limit. When I go to enter an AR invoice, as soon as I click save, I get this credit check box, and at the bottom it's going to tell me exactly what the problem is. So that's going to have to be resolved before we can process an invoice. If I'm using order entry, there's a little icon circled there for credit check that I can check the credit at any time as I'm entering the order. The credit check box looks pretty much the same as on the AR side. If I have permissions, I can override any credit problems. If I don't check the credit while I'm entering the order, as soon as I hit post, if there's a problem, the same box will pop up. Every single one of us has at some point entered a journal entry incorrectly. We either put in the wrong amount, we use the wrong GL account, or we use the wrong fiscal period. And quite often it's that last one there, using the wrong fiscal period. Sage makes it really easy for us to fix our mistakes. You simply open up your journal entry screen, and there's a little reverse button at the bottom. You click that. Say you're creating a new batch, the reverse batch is the default description, but you can certainly override that. And all you have to do is click process, and Sage 300 will reverse the entry for you. Copy orders and quotes. So if you're using order entry and you're processing a lot of orders, chances are you're entering orders that are very similar to ones that you've done in the past. So Sage gives us a copy orders feature in the OE transactions area. So I can copy one order, or I can copy a range of orders, and I can copy it to the same customer or a different customer. And I can also copy a regular order to a quote, or vice versa. So you have a lot of flexibility there. So I make my selections. I click that little go button, which is those two blue arrows there, and Sage will create the order for me, which is very handy. And once that order's in place, if I need to make changes to quantities or add a line item or whatever, I can do that. Definitely speeds up the process. You also have the option of, if you're ordering the same thing for the same customer and you know the last order number, you can always pull up that existing order and go to File, Copy, Current Order. And then as soon as you select that, Sage will open up the copy order screen for you, but it will have already filled out the criteria. So all you have to do is click Copy. One of the nice features, and we support a number of different ERP systems, and one of the areas where I think Sage 300 excels is in their drill down. So from the GL, if you can analyze any account and drill all the way down to the source transactions. So if you go into GL accounts and the chart of accounts, and you pull up the screen that you see here, I can highlight any account in my chart, and then click on the transactions button. And that will return for me every single transaction for that GL account through the period that I've specified. I can then filter the results down to the source code. So here I've got it filtered down to AR invoices. I could filter it to any source code in the system. And then once I have my results, I can double click on any transaction in that list, and it will take me to the journal entry screen. So I can look at the journal entry, and then I can further drill down to the originating document. So here I can drill down to the AR invoice entry screen, and I can see exactly what was invoiced. And if this invoice came from order entry, I can drill all the way back down to the originating order. And that works for all the modules. So it's really a nice feature in Sage 300. It makes it easy to figure out what makes up your account balances if you're trying to analyze something. If you use inventory control and you've had to create a new item and you didn't use the wizard, you know that there's like 20 different screens that you have to open up to create the item. So at some point, Sage created the inventory item wizard just to kind of speed up that process. You still have to go through the screens, but it's just a matter of clicking next. You don't have to close one screen and then open up another. So here you can see on the very first screen, they also make it very easy for you to create your item number. And this is helpful if you have a complex item structure. So you can see how many segments are required and what the length is for each segment. And in some of your segments, there may be a pick list, like maybe color, and it'll even, you know, allow you to pull up that pick list and select what you need. So once you have that, you'll just kind of move right through. You'll set up your unit of measure. You'll go through and set up any alternate items that can be used. You'll set up your locations. And don't worry, I don't have a print screen for every single one, but you'll go through and set up your pricing, your vendor details, your customer item numbers, if you have those, your manufacturer item numbers, everything that you need to fully create that item and get it in place. Okay, multiple instances of a data entry window. Unless you, I don't know, work in a cave, everybody gets interrupted, especially if you're doing order entry, data entry, or invoices. You get interrupted constantly, and we don't want to have to, if we're in the middle of an order, you don't want to have to save that order, close it, and then open up another order or look up another order for a customer that happens to call you. So what we want to do is set each icon, our data entry icon, so that we can open multiple copies at a time. And that's real easy to do if you just highlight, and in this case, we're using order entry. You highlight the icon, you right click it and select properties, and then check the box that says start multiple copies. And that will allow you, so if you're entering an order and a customer calls and you need to look up another order, you don't have to close the one you're working on, you just open up another screen. That comes in real handy. 19, coming down the home stretch here. Visual process flows. These have been out for a while. Again, it's kind of, I think it's an underutilized feature in Sage, and I'll take part of the blame for that, because if you've used Sage for 20 years, you know, you're used to the other menu items, so you kind of forget about this new feature. But it's nice because, so if you're in AR, you know that you have to go in the AR transactions area for invoices, the AR customers area to look at the customer record, and the reports area if you want to run a report. Well, all of that is right here on the screen. So you don't have to navigate around the program to get what you want. It's all right there in front of you. And you can also customize this by user. So if you have a user that only edits customer records, enters invoices, and maybe prints invoices and batch lists, then you can limit their process flow here to just those 4 icons. So it does make it a little bit easier to find what you need. You can also put in icons for other things that aren't here by default, but it does help speed up the workflow or make your users more efficient. And my last tip is a new feature in Sage 300 Cloud, and those are notes. So this, the notes feature, as I mentioned earlier, allows you to enter notes for customers, vendors, and items. So here I've got a note for a customer 1100, and every time I open that customer record, my notes are going to pop up. I can add, assuming I have permissions to do so, I can add new notes, I can edit an existing note, or I can delete an existing note. And those notes will also pop up when I'm in the order entry screen. So if I'm creating an order, as soon as I type in that customer number 1100, the note screen will pop up. So if there's any notes there, particular to that customer that I need to know when I'm entering an order, it'll be right there on the screen for me. So that's it. I probably went over my 20 minutes, and I apologize for that, but I just cannot speak that quickly. I think we've got another polling question, Brian.
Yes, we do. And there it is. All right. True or false, prepayments and partial payments are 2 of 4 common reasons for unapplied documents. And just a reminder, you do have to answer all polling questions to get CPE credits. I don't think you need to get them all right, but you need to answer.
And while that's up, Anderson, I'm going to transfer presenter to you.
All right, and we got the results back, and you guys are all right. It is true. Just some other reasons that Beth talked about, odd payments with no relation to an invoice, deposit now, match later approach to receipts. Perfect.
All right, I'm going to turn everything over to Anderson, and he's going to show you Sage Intelligence reporting. Thank you guys for listening to me talk for the last hour or so. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Beth.
All right, thank you, Beth. Let me know if you can see my screen here. It should be on the presentation slide.
Yep, we can see.
All right. So today we're going to be discussing about the Sage Enterprise Intelligence. It's a reporting tool that's been offered in Sage. Let me just click this here. I think we have a polling question here, Brian.
Yes, we do. All right, we will make that available for you guys. So true or false, I've used Sage Enterprise Intelligence to build reports before. And this is the last question that you need for your CPE. All right, thank you guys for your answers. Seems like most of you guys have not, so this will be a new learning experience for you guys.
Okay. All right, so I'm just going to jump right into the demo of Sage Enterprise Intelligence. Sage Enterprise Intelligence, or SEI, is a BI solution. So what you first notice here, it's a web-based reporting tool, and you can use this through any browser because it is created via HTML5, and you can use it on a mobile app. You could use it on Firefox IE, and you can access it outside of your network. You just have to have the correct setup for the security. So when you first log into SEI, it's going to show you the command center. Now, all that you're going to see here, it's predefined. It's already built in. So once it's installed, all this is ready to go. And you can see there's accounts payable, account receivables, finance. And as you drill down into each of these folders, so let's say accounts payable, there's what's called a process. And the way I think of processes, if you can imagine an Excel file with all the column headings that has all the data, all the column headings that you need to create your report. And in each of these processes, you can pick and choose which columns you want to create your reports. Views, graphs, and so it's based off of the processes like AP vendor statistics or AP invoice batch details that you want to create your reports from. So, and if I drill down a little bit further, these are views or reports graph that's been predefined and created. So, and we would take a look at, let's look at sales analysis. We look at sales by item. And you can see this is show me a workbook icon, or it looks like Excel. So it's going to give us a grid report. So if I just double click on it, it's going to open up and it's going to give us a layout based on the sales history process. So all the columns is made available through the sales history. So this is out of the box report. Now we can modify this. Let's say you don't want to see profit percent. You just click out of it and it's going to take that column away. So same thing with sales profit. You just click on it, it'll go away. Now if you want to add columns, simply go to the right hand side and you're going to see this dimensions and measures. And you're going to have measures and dimensions. And these all came from, again, the sales history process. So all of these columns exist in that process. So if we wanted to add fiscal period, we just highlight it, drag it, and drop it in. So now I'm grouping by item number, fiscal year, fiscal period. And if I drill down into each of the levels, you can see the first level here, it's respective to the group. So you can see this is item number. The next one is fiscal year. And if I drill down further, it's fiscal period. If I wanted to change the groups or I wanted to order the group, I could do that as well. I just drag and drop the fiscal year in front and maybe do the same thing with period. That's going to update my report. So now I see year, period, and an item number. There's also a nice feature that I think SEI added, and it seems like this is for end users. This is great for end users to create their own reports on the fly without having to go to IT and saying, hey, I need a column added or I need a calculation added on a report. This gives the user the ability to just build the reports on their own. So let's say we want to add a calculation in here. So what we can do is we'll click on the calculation icon, click on calculated columns, hit add, and then it's going to walk you through each of the steps. So the details is just going to ask you what's the column heading you want to give it. And I'm just going to say demo sales profit. I'll collapse that. Go to the next format. What type, data type do you want to show it? I'm going to say it's numeric and just say numbers. And I want 2 decimal places. And I'll collapse that. I'll go to the next one, which is where we select our fields. So you just select the fields that you want. And in the search, you could type in the words, and it will automatically display the match. So if I know that it's going to be T sales, I'll just double click and I'll say subtract, and then I want the sales cost, double click, and then always end it semicolon, and I'll just validate that, and I'll hit save. And now this calculated column is available for me to add into my report. I just simply click on it and hit Add to View. So if we close this flyout navigation, you can see the demo sale field is added here. So without having to go to IT or and having creating a separate column for it, you can do your own calculations here, and then you can save the report. So that's if you wanted to modify reports that currently exist. You can simply just drag and drop, create your calculated columns. But let's say you wanted to create a brand new report. And let's take a look at, I'm going to use this vendor statistics. You're just going to right click on the process. You're going to hit New View. And then it's going to give you an option. Well, what type of report do you want to create? Bar, pie, workbook, or worksheet. So I'm just going to select the grid view for now. It says we'll give it a name. And then it's going to say, well, what columns do you want to add? And this again comes from your process. So this comes from the AP vendor statistics process, and it's making available all these columns to you. So I want for the column, I want total invoices. So I'm going to create a report that's going to show us the top 10 AP vendors. So I'm going to select total invoices. I'm going to click OK. And then the rows I'm going to group by vendor number. I'll select that and I'll hit OK. Now I just hit confirm. So as of right now, it's giving us all the vendors and the total invoices. And as right now, there isn't any filters, but I want the top 10. So what I can do is I can click on the groups and just right click. I'll go to advanced options. And then I'm going to check with the show first. And then say show first 10. And I'm just going to drag over total invoices. And I want it to descend. And I'll say OK. So now I have my top 10 vendors based on the total invoice. And let's say I don't like the total to be up here. I want it to show in the bottom. I can do that very easily. I expand this out, click on the worksheet properties. And then we have this worksheet properties, and I just click on total rows. And I'm just going to disable the top and have it go down to the bottom. So within under a minute, we just created a top 10 vendor report. So all I have to do is I want to save changes. Let's save that. I want to publish it for everyone. I'll save. Now let's say I want to change this to have it be visual or graphical. I can do that just by, from the same report that I just created, I could turn this into a graphical report. All I have to do is go to the right hand and type and click on View Type. And I'm going to select pie, and I'm going to do it as a donut graph here. Now I have myself a visual report of the top 10. I can put a title. Top 10 vendors. So now I have this top 10 vendors, and I can save this. I'll save it as. All right. So now we have two reports. One's a worksheet and the other one is a graphical report. So what I can do now is, let's say I want to show this on a dashboard, and we can do that. So I'm just going to go into our dashboard, the navigation, and I'm just going to create a new folder here, and we just say demo. And what you're going to notice is that it automatically. So what we're going to do is create a folder, and then we're going to do new dashboard, and I'm going to call this just another demo dashboard. And I want to publish for everyone. So she knows once I say I want to create a new dashboard, it automatically brings me to this command center view instead of staying in the dashboard. Because the reason why is it's going to be a drag and drop. So I've created my demo top 10, drag and drop in. We have one. Maybe I want to add keep batch, and I can adjust this. I can also add, so as right now we're just adding the AP, but I could also add from different modules. So let's say from sales. You want to add top 5 person. And maybe periods. So we have 4 4 reports in one dashboard, consisting of AP and sales reports. Next thing we can do is go to dashboard properties, and so these are all separate reports. So we want to have the option to filter and have it apply to each of these reports. So we can do filtering panel, hit add, and I'm going to use fiscal year. So, okay. We'll click on fiscal year again, and we want to set it as current year. And I want the fiscal year to apply to all of the reports so that when I change the year, it's going to update all the reports. Close out, and I'll exit the edit mode. And now we can go to the drop down, and I'll select 2019. You can see it's recalculating for all the reports. And then you can also change the layout. So I'll say we want to kind of bring that. Let's change it to black. Kind of have a nice look to it. So imagine having this on maybe a monitor, and you could set it to refresh as well. Auto refresh. You could set it for, in seconds. Every 15 seconds, it will auto refresh the dashboard. And I think that's pretty much it. We've created a new report, modified reports, created a dashboard in under 15 minutes. And things back to you, Brian.
Awesome. I'm going to have Giselle take over the screen, and we're going to finish up. Yeah. Thank you, Enisun. And if we have any other questions, now's the time. We can open up to the panel. I'll just give a couple moments for you guys to put in some questions. Awesome. We have a couple in right now. So the first one is, can you change report viewing permissions by user? This is for enterprise intelligence.
Yes, you can. Actually, the security is very granular, so you can have it by row base. All that you see here, this is by default. I'm seeing everything because I'm the admin but you can set it by row. You can set it by individual user. You can set it by folder, by reports. So it's granular.
It's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, and we have another question. Will my Sage ERP automatically update when 2018.2 is released?
I'll take that, and the answer to that is no. Yeah, no, we would have to download that and install it for you.
All right, thank you, Beth.
Mm-hmm.
And we have one more that I can see until something else pops up. Does Gross Mendelsohn offer free training? And on, yep, you go, Beth.
Yeah, I was going to answer that. We have not. We usually incorporate training in with an implementation or an upgrade or on request. However, there are a lot of training sessions that Sage has, some of which are free. There's some lunch and learns. So if anybody is interested, they could just email me, let me know what they're interested in as far as training, and I will find something for them. Happy to do it.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. I don't think we have any other questions here, so I guess we'll wrap it up and let you guys get back to your day. I want to thank everyone, Beth Anderson and Laura and the rest of the people from Alltech for your time today, and as well as everyone that joined and spent some time with us learning a little bit about Sage 300. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to me, Beth, or Anderson. Here's our contact information right here, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And as a final reminder, we will be sending out the slides in the user group recording to everyone who has attended within the next few days. If you would like CPA or CPE for attending our online event, please email me. My email is right up there. It's bwirtsman@gma-cpa.com. Feel free to call me at any time too, and that works, and I can just make sure you guys get all the credit you guys need. And I'll just leave our contact information up for another few minutes in case you need to jot something down. But this will conclude our webinar for today, and I really appreciate everyone's time, and happy Valentine's Day. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you.